In the sense, fucking with the ring.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Stoner's Animated Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about
childhood fave, Scooby Doo.
Now, Scooby Doo is a franchise created by Hanna-Barbera. It was first on CBS Network, and it follows mystery-solving teens and their dog, Fred Jones, Daphne Blake, Velma Dinkley, and Norville. Yeah, Shaggy's real name is Norville, people. Rogers. And of course, Scooby Doo, where they work together to catch monsters, aka humans in masks. Of course, we smoking. Y'all already know the vibes by now. And I'm smoking on that granddaddy perp. Anyway, the world of Scooby-Doo is strange, but it's hard not to fall in love with the gothic atmosphere and the optimism of our protagonists. Like, they could be in high school, yet they lack all adult supervision, and they could be in college if their world has any sense of normacy. Also, Scooby-Doo is a part of the DC universe, so I think that's dope as hell. So these kids, embroiled in 1960s counterculture, take their groovy van to the parts of the unknown. So let's get into it. And with all good stories, we're gonna start from the beginning, right? So in 1968, Fred Silverman, exclusive in charge of Saturday morning programming for CBS Network, was looking for a new show that would revamp his Saturday morning lineup, right? So the result of this was The Archie Show at first. This is based on Bob Montana's teenage humor comic book Archie. Also successful was they had a #1 Billboard hit. The Archies, the band, performed on The Archie Show. Sugar, sugar, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. That is a fucking banger, period, and that literally came from a children's show. So Silverman sees this, he's eager to expand upon his success. He contacts producers, Hanna and Barbera, William Hanna and Joseph Barba. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but whatever. Well, I'm sorry. Apologies. About possibly creating another show about a band who solves mysteries part-time. And this band was supposed to be a rock group. So they're just supposed to go to gigs, and in between gigs, solve mysteries. So Hanna and Barbara, they passed this along to their two storyboard guys, Joe Ruby and Ken Spears. And then their character designer, of course, was Takamoto. Gotta be a Japanese man, you know the vibes. Their original concept of the show bore the title Mysteries 5, and the characters were going to be Joe Foff, Mike, Kelly, Linda, and Linda's brother, WW. And then their George, Too Much. And honestly, they were doing too much with the names. So they're in this band called the Mysteries 5, and that's also supposed to be the name of the show. So when they're not performing gigs, they're supposed to be solving mysteries, including ghosts, zombies, witches, and other supernatural creatures. Ruby and Spears then had to decide what to do with the dog, because they felt like you could either have a cowardly large dog or a feisty small dog. So they ended up going with a cowardly large dog. Then they were stuck with the decision, well, do we do a shaggy sheepdog or do we do a Great Dane? After talking to Barboa about this, they decided to go with the Great Dane because Archie already had a sheep shaggy-like dog, and they didn't want to make it so similar. So they go with the Great Dane. They do some extra research on the Great Dane, decide what it's going to look like. The only thing they were worried about with that was that people were going to connect it with Marmaduke, but Barbara felt like that wouldn't be an issue at all. So by the time the show was ready to be presented by Silverman, a lot of things had changed. First of all, Geoff and Mike were merged into one character named Ronnie, which changed to Fred at Silverman's behest. And then Kelly was renamed to Daphne, Linda was now called Velma, and Shaggy, formerly WW, Too Much was still Too Much. He also didn't like the name, the Mysterious Five, so he decided to scratch that. We're gonna call it Who's Scared. So he goes to the CBS exclusives. He's like, I got this bomb, and y'all need this, and we need this for the Saturday morning blog. I looked everywhere trying to find this presentation or an animated version of it because apparently they did a whole animation sequence of these original characters, and I would love to see that, but I couldn't find it anywhere online, of course. I mean, it happened in 1969 or 68 or whatever. So they decided that the show was too frightening and they thought it would scare the kids, so they decided that they would pass on it. Now without a centerpiece, for the upcoming season, Silverman went back to Ruby and Spears, who reworked the show to make it more comedic and less frightening. They dropped the rock band element because, I mean, I guess for kids that was too much. Even though that was really the time for that, like in that 1969 to the 70s was really heavy into that. And they began to focus more on Shaggy and Too Much, like how their characters were gonna be. And according to Ruby and Spears, Silverman was inspired by the ad-lib, doobie doobie doo, he heard at the end of Frank Sinatra's interpretation of the song Strangers in the Night. And then on the way out to out of their meeting, he decided we're naming the whole show Scooby Doo, actually. And if you notice, Scooby Doo always says Scooby Dooby Doo. Like, that's like literally a thing he says all the time in the show. So the show was rechristened now, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? They presented this to CBS, and CBS was like, yes, we love it, give it to us. The CBS years were great. They debuted on a Saturday night, September 13, 1969, with its first episode, What a Night for a Night. The original cast was Don Musek as Scooby-Doo, who passed away in the 90s, Casey Kasem as Shaggy, Frank Wheeler as Fred, 51 years doing Scooby-Doo shenanigans. Heard you, Frank. And then Nicole Jeff as Velma, and then Stephiana Christopherson as Daphne. First of all, showed you a little baddie. But other than that, they did 17 episodes in 1969. And to me, this is a classic. And honestly, it was scary. Like they still were able to add enough darkness and eeriness to it, which I enjoy. Like the art style itself was really like creepy. So these characters themselves were actually based off of characters from a show in the 1960s called The Many Loves of Dobie Gills. And if you can watch some of the episodes on YouTube. I don't really it's a different type of humor. It's a different time. It's also in black and white. But you can definitely see the resemblance between the characters. And in the series, though, I would say more like instead of just the character design, what the characters are more about are redefined in Scooby-Doo itself. Because Fred is the leader, he's a determined detective. Velma is an intelligent analyst. Daphne is danger-prone and vain. And Shaggy and Scooby are cowardly types, more motivated by hunger than anything to even be in these shenanigans. Later on, Daphne becomes more of a independent woman and wants to defend herself and stuff. And I think that is the only character development this series ever really has. We all know the plot of Scooby-Doo follows a formula that was served for the template for the rest of its time, it seems like. The mystery gang bumps into some ghost or monster, which they learn is terrorizing the local populace. The teens offer to help solve the mystery behind the creature, but while looking and finding clues or whatever, Shaggy and Scooby run into the monster, and that's where the whole thing starts. Now they have to determine if this is really just a mortal in disguise or an actual monster, and usually it's just a mortal in disguise. They capture the monster, and of course the person behind the mask would always say famous catchphrase or a variation thereof, I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
And it would have been mine.
You don't know
if
the
it hadn't
vibes.
been for those
And I mean,
kids.
to me, it's kind of
And I
hilarious
would
how
have
they
made
change it up.
millions
Like
if it
every
hadn't
episode,
been for you
person
meddling
who's
kids.
unmasked isn't
Meddling
just like you
young
meddling
fools.
kids. They're just like
Gotten away with their king's
would have got away
ransom.
with it too if it wasn't
And
for
I
those
wish you'd have minded
meddlers
your
or something.
own
I don't know.
business.
I don't know it off the
Well, in
top
this
of my
case,
head.
it's
Don't come for me. Scooby Doo, Where Are You was a major success for CBS. They renewed it for a second season in 1970. The second season had 8 episodes of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? And they were different slightly from the first seasonal episodes with their uses of more slapstick humor. Archie showed chase scenes, so now on the chase scenes they had more musical numbers. Heather North was now performing the voice as Daphne in place of Christopher Son, and also a new re-recorded theme song. So both seasons still had the laugh track. You remember that theme? That was something the United States just used in cartoons in the 1960s and 70s. That was a highly popular thing to do. So in 1972, after 25 episodes, the program was doubled to a full hour called The New Scooby Doo Movies. Each episode featured a different guest star helping the gang solve mysteries. Among them, the most notable guests were the Harlem Globetrotters, the Three Stooges, Don Knotts, and Batman and Robin, who all appeared at least twice on the show, 24 episodes, so that was super dope. So that ran until 1974. 1976, Scooby-Doo moves to ABC. And it gets a little weird to me, I think. Because they do the Scooby-Doo Dawnmont Hour, and this is Scooby-Doo and his gang solving mysteries in one half, and then on the other half, it's the Blue Falcon and Dawnmont fighting crime. Their own story. So, I mean, that's cool, but then they give us Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, which personally for me, do not like Scrappy-Doo at all. This happened in 1979. Even though I didn't like it or didn't enjoy it, it actually boosted their rating. So they decided to drop Fred, Daphne, Velma, and they just focused on Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, a 3 7-minute adventure starring the three. But in this adventure, the ghosts were supposed to be real. The mystery that they were trying to solve was actually real. So it was a different spin on what we were doing before, because they actually show a lot of the same characters from the original, a lot of the original villains, but this time they're actually ghosts. So it was, whatever. And then 1980s, they do the Richie Rich and Scooby-Doo Hour. So this had still, again, mystery and Scooby-Doo and their gang solving their mystery on half an hour, and then on the other half hour, it's the adventures of Richie Rich, the richest boy in the world, with his friends and his butlers. They're investigating problems, and he gets into situations that he can ultimately always get himself out of with his mass amount of money and all his crazy ass gadgets because of all the money he got. It was really obnoxious. It's jokes, but 1982, we get Scooby-Doo and the Scrappy-Doo Puppy Hour. I do not like Scrappy at all. Oh my God. But once again, the gang of three travel the world doing random things. This series wasn't so much as them solving mysteries, just them getting into shenanigans. Kind of looks like in the Wild Wild West at times, but that's what we got. 1983 to 1984, we get the new Scooby-Doo mysteries. So this is an updated version of the classic Hanna-Barbera mystery cartoon. Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo travel from town to town in their van, the mystery machine, solving the cases of hauntings. So once again, we don't have Velma or Fred. And we still have Scrappy, but it just doesn't have all the original characters. It's nice to see them solving crimes again. But Scrappy is so annoying. I just can't. I'm sorry. The Scrappy, I can't get behind it. Then you get the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo in 1985. So this one actually excited me watching, because mind you, I started watching these all when I was maybe around 12, 11, because my grandfather had, I don't remember what cable services was, but they had Boomerang as a channel. And every weekend I would go over there and just watch everything they had, everything they were showing all the time. So Scooby-Doo was my thing. But anyway, so 1985, we see the debut of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which features Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, and all new characters, Flim Flam and Vincent Van Ghoul, based and voiced by Vincent Price. Now, if you love horror movies or you're a super fan, because I know there are some people that are really deeply into it, this is the man. He was in House of Wax, The Fly, House on Haunted Hill, Return of the Fly. He's just the GOAT as far as those original horror movies go. So they're traveling around the globe trying to capture the 13 most terrifying ghosts and ghouls on the face of the earth. It was canceled in March 1986, which I guess, I don't know, sad. But yeah, 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo, cool. Next up was A Pup Named Scooby Doo. I love this, A Pup Named Scooby Doo. It came out in 1988. Hanna-Barbera reincarnated the Scooby Doo. I love it when they actually work together. Like, other people can just take that show and try to reimagine it in their own, and I think that's what happens a lot with Scooby Doo. But when Hanna-Barbera do it, they do it, and that's the best team. They gotta really leave it alone. Anyway, so they reincarnate the original Scooby Doo Where Are You cast as junior high students, and this is the greatest. Like, it debuted on ABC. A Pup Named Scooby Doo was an irrelevant, zany reimagined of the series, highly inspired by the classic cartoons of Tex Avery and Bob for a more Looney Tunes-like style. The retool show was a success and it lasted to 1991. Now, in 1991, this is where Scooby-Doo goes on a hiatus. So reruns of the show have been in syndication since the 1980s and have also been shown on Cablevision networks such as CBS Superstation until 1989. In 1993, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, having recently just ended on its network run on ABC, began reruns on Cartoon Network. The other versions of Scooby-Doo joined it in the following year, becoming exclusive to Turner Network, such as Cartoon Network, Canadian Network, Teletoon began airing Scooby-Doo as well in 1997. When the TBS and TNT ended their broadcast of H&B cartoons in 1998, Scooby-Doo became exclusive property of both Cartoon Network and their sister station, Boomerang. So finally, in 2002 into 2006, we get a new What's New Scooby-Doo. So they updated the original version for a 21st century look, which aired on Kids W from 2002 until 2005, with the second run episodes also appearing on Cartoon Network. Unlike previous Scooby-Doo, this show was produced at Warner Brothers, and they had absorbed Hanna-Barbera in 2001, so the show finally returns with a familiar cast and format. But also, since it's now in the 21st century, they have modern day technology added to the mix to give the series a more contemporary feel. Along with this new digitally recorded sound effects and music, after 3 seasons of What's New Scooby-Doo, it was replaced in 2006 with Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue. So Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, I think, was a cool idea. Shaggy inherits money and a mansion from his uncle, an inventor who has gone into hiding from villains trying to steal his secret invention. But I really did not like the art style, I'm sorry. And they don't have the same kind of, I guess there's just some things that Scooby-Doo has to keep, I think, to do well. Like, those chase scenes, they need to have that musical number, I think. Like, that just works. So Fred, Daphne, and Velma are also normally absent, but they do make appearances at times to help. Next, we have Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. This series is the first Scooby-Doo series to release directly on cable television. It's considered a reboot of the franchise. Though Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated does reference concept characters and aspects not only from older Scooby-Doo shows but also from other Hanna-Barbera properties, it utilizes them in a new fashion that maintains the essence and familiarity while not being strictly tied to what has been done before. The guy who writes it, Tony Corone, he has proclaimed that Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated takes place in its own alternate universe. I'm not so mad at this art style. I'm not so mad at what they did here. The only thing I am mad about is that I don't like that Velma and Daphne both like Shaggy and Fred. I think it's just too extra with all of that, but hey. Next we get Be Cool Scooby-Doo, and this is just once again another remake where Scooby and his gang are out solving mysteries. I just really hated this art style. It was like a Ben 10 it just was really not something I enjoyed at all. And then we get in 2019 Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. I'm not mad at this series at all. I like that they give us a similar art style that we're used to. There's also a lot of characters, and it's just great. Liked it. I loved it. Enjoyed it. It's really nice to have that original Scooby Doo style. I think that's the style that works best for them. It's the one that they should stick to. And then Scooby Doo, period, the franchise has about 36 movies in total. It's really ridiculous. And they also have in total, like with all the series, they have about 143 reoccurring characters. So I started looking through to see what characters really stood out to me. But I think the only thing that I found truly hilarious was that in 1969, Kiss is on Scooby Doo, and they hate it. They're like the lead singer he's like, he didn't like it. He felt like they didn't get as much, shine as they should. And I get it. Heard you. So then they have them again on the show in like 2005. Kiss is still not happy. I mean, they're like, yeah, it was good, but it still wasn't what we need. So now in 2015, Kiss and Scooby-Doo do a movie. And they're like, and the lead singer's like, yes, this might be a Kiss movie featuring Scooby-Doo. And this is it. This is fire. Scooby-Doo has been around for 51 years. Like, comic books, different adaptations. Like, if they really wanted to, they could join the anime game. Like, if they really wanted to actually add some depth to the characters, they could totally do that. Imagine an anime where we not only see the gang solving mysteries, but it involves their families a little deeper or something. Because there's even an episode, they even break the fourth wall in Scooby-Doo, the 1969 version, where they unmask their voice actors, which is jokes. Like, they're like, we know who there's like people dressed up as the characters from Scooby-Doo, but really when they unmask them, it's their own voice actors. Like, come on. This is a show that knows no limits, and they're literally using the same formula. Like, they did their thing. That's everything I have on Scooby-Doo. Well, at least as far as the shows go, yeah, that's about everything I have. I'm not going to talk about the movies because that's crazy. That's 36 movies. So I've been rereading some of the stuff I have on my shelf. So right now I'm reading Oku, The Inner Chambers. It's this book I've had for a while. So basically, in the Edo period of Japan, a strange new disease called the Red Pox has begun to prey on the country's men. Within 80 years of the first outbreak, the male population has fallen by 75%. Women have taken on the roles traditionally granted by men, even that of the shogun. The men, precious providers of life, are now carefully protected, and the most beautiful men are sent to serve in the shogun's inner chamber. So it's a way different reverse of roles that we've probably never seen in the Edo period, especially. So this was something that really interests me. It's kind of hard to get into at times because for some reason, it's like Shakespeare. Like, that's how they talk. So yeah, I'm giving it another read because Shakespeare is hard. Like, there's certain things that he says, and it's just like, I really got to take a moment to try to understand what does that mean, because it might be important to what actually is going on. But I'll put the book stuff in the description just in case you care or want to read it. Anyway, guys, thanks for pulling up and linking with your girl. Yeah, that's all I got for today. But if you like this video, like the new info you learned about Scooby-Doo, please subscribe, like. I got more shenanigans on the way. Can't wait. I think next episode I'm going to be playing Mario Kart with some friends, so tune in.